Good afternoon, everyone, to our online presentation for SightCity 2022. I'm Gaby Herden from Viewplus Technologies, and with me is my colleague Rebecka Boman.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the Viewplus Technologies presentation. Today, we're going to talk about company Viewplus. Shortly, I will begin with giving you an overview of our company. We're going to talk about our product portfolio. Gaby and I will share some information about our different embosser models with you, and also tell you a little bit about what our customers say about them. After this, Gaby will introduce how to use our text-to-Braille translation program, TSS, and she will also share her screen to let you take part in how text-to-Braille is being translated. And we will also explain with words what is happening. And she will also show how to create tactile graphics and briefly the printing process. At the end, we're going to talk about TSS 8. This is our absolute latest version of TSS, which will enter the market in June this year, and our new embosser models Rogue, Track, and Rogue Sheet, and what you can expect from these as they are replacing the Viewplus Max. At the end, we're going to have a 10-minute approximately questions and answer section. So I'm now going to tell you about our company Viewplus. I'm sure that a few of you are familiar with the word tiger. Tiger is also here displayed on the slide. Tiger is a word that is frequently connected to Viewplus, and it was used to identify our embossers in the beginning. Tiger stands for Tactile Image Graphics Embosser. What some of you might not know is that our founder, Dr. John Gardner, became blind at a later age. At the time that he became blind after an eye surgery, he was already a professor at Oregon State University and a mathematics and physics teacher. As he was trying to continue his work like he had done before he became blind, it became evident that there was no embosser or Braille dot printer that could represent the mathematics and figures that he needed. He decided to reach out to current Braille embosser producers, but none of them were willing to invest in creating a new embosser or changing a current one to produce formulas and mathematical equations in graphical form. Dr. Gardner then decided to embark on a journey of creating his own Braille embosser, and Viewplus Technologies became the company to sell them. Our headquarters is located in Corvallis, Oregon, and we have about 17 persons employed there. And we have a satellite office with sales and support in Westerkappen in Germany, and 3 persons are working there. On this slide, you can see a picture of us. So to the right is myself, Rebecka Boman. I handle sales and marketing. To the left is my colleague Gaby, and she is our technician support person. She makes sure your orders are packed and prepared, and she also keeps orders here in the office. And in the middle is Christian Herden. He is our hardware support person and also does software development. And now Gaby is going to tell you a little bit about our product portfolio.
Okay, thank you, Rebecka. Okay, let's talk about Viewplus products. Historically, Viewplus product portfolio contains mainly embossers, tactile image and graphics embossers, but all can produce quality Braille at the same time. I will start with Viewplus mBraille, which is on display here on current slide. It is our smallest, lightest machine, and with 25 CPS, meaning characters per second, also the slowest, but therefore it is the most affordable embosser in the world, too. It uses tractor-fed paper in letter or A4 size, but can handle cut sheets 1 sheet at a time as well. Together with the optional travel case, shown on the right here, it's a perfect companion for individuals at home or on the go, for on-demand printing of Braille or tactile graphics. For example, in Australia, where a teacher for visually impaired children is responsible for a number of schools at the same time. Taking the embosser on his visits, he is able to produce school materials for the kids of different ages directly on demand. Or students at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology here in Germany, who can borrow an mBraille to take to their lab classes, being able to emboss results of experimental work right away.
On this next slide, we see the most popular embossers, which are called Columbia and Delta. Columbia is a tractor-fed 120 characters per second double-sided embosser which uses tractor feed paper. It's very similar to the Index Basic D, which I'm sure that many of you are familiar with. It has an onboard or a device audio menu in different languages so that the menu can be navigated independently through the navigator panel. In Europe, we can offer a sound enclosure for this embosser. The cut sheet paper model is called Delta, and it also has 120 characters per second printing capacity. It takes A3 and A4 size cut sheet paper, and it has a stacker which can hold up to 50 sheets of paper. To this embosser, we offer a sound enclosure, and we also offer a separate sound cabinet. In the bottom of the sound cabinet, there is a catch tray for the papers so that they are not floating around after they have been printed. In Tanzania, in Africa, we have a very enthusiastic Columbia tractor feed embosser user. His name is Mr. Mbego. He wrote a dissertation on improving mathematics instructions for secondary school learners with visual impairment in Kilimanjaro and Tanga regions, Tanzania. The main findings reveal challenges encountered by students with visual impairment in learning mathematics to include shortage of skilled mathematics teachers, shortage of mathematics teaching and learning materials, and lack of knowledge of using mathematical devices, both to students and their teachers. To improve the shortage of being able to teach mathematics and creating meaningful learning materials, Mr. Mbego invested in Columbia. He is reporting back that he is very happy with what he can now provide his students for the learning and motivation, and this in a much shorter period of time compared to before. On the next slide, we see the Spotdot. So this is another embosser in our portfolio. Spotdot is an embosser that prints with 50 characters per second. It can print Braille, Tactile Graphics, and full color ink. There is no other embosser that can print full color ink that we are aware of in the market today. Due to the versatility of this embosser is not just suitable for blind students, but it can also be used to create a variety of print material suitable for students with learning disabilities. In Norway, the Spotdot has been provided for many years to end users. We have heard a story about a young boy who received his first Spotdot. The boy was about to start school and he had some difficulties finding his place in kindergarten. He had a tendency to spend time on his own and felt a bit distant from the rest of the children in the group. He was very excited to hear that he was going to receive a Spotdot, but once again, when the support person arrived with the big embosser, he was somewhat overwhelmed with the size of the embosser and the fact that this was all for him. The embosser was installed, and as the first print, the support person decided to print a very simple race car and type, "This is a race car" in Norwegian on the document. Spotdot printed the paper in both ink and Braille, and this meant that not only could the little boy feel the graphic, but also read the words on the paper. The sighted children could, using the same document, see the image of the race car and also the graphical print of the Braille letters. The children had lots of questions and lots of opinions about different cars, and the little boy, who had been more or less excluded before, was now part of the group, just as any of the other children, and this meant very, very much to him. So on the next slide, we can see Viewplus IVO, and on the right-hand side is a touchpad, and it has the continent of South America, and it's written the word Argentina. So the IVO is an accessory to the Spotdot, and it contains of a software and accompanying touch-sensitive pad where images can be placed which are printed, for example, on the Spotdot and explored using your hands. In the accompanying software, it's possible to add sounds and tactile labels. So in the example above from Norway, it would be possible to have the audio feedback played. The Braille label could read out loud, "This is a race car," and when touching the car, it could make the roaring sound of a race car. When using IBO, the student learns with multiple senses. The audio feedback makes it easier to remember and to understand different parts of such materials as the water cycle, or in this case, the concept of a continent. So when somebody is touching a country inside the continent, in this case Argentina, this will be read out loud to you. And Gaby will now continue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, before going to some demonstrations on our software to show how Braille and Tactile Graphics documents are created, I would like to finish introducing our product range of embossers with a few words about Viewplus Elite and Viewplus Premier. Elite and Premier are basically the same embossers, with the only difference in printing speed. Both emboss double-sided on continuous tractor feed paper with a maximum width of 12 inch or 30 centimeters. Elite prints Interpoint Braille at 200 characters per second and Premiere at 100 characters per second. These embossers are built for high duty. They meet specifications for higher volume printing, such as you find in printing houses for creation of bank statements in Braille, for example, or at school district printing services. This doesn't mean, though, it couldn't be placed in a single-user environment. For Elite or Premier, we also offer a sound cabinet. If you are looking for the fastest embosser for printing Braille, the Elite would be your choice. And additionally, you would get superior tactile graphics too. Similar to the Spotdot, combining embossed output with color ink, we have Ink Connect available as accessory to Elite and Premier. On current slide, you see a picture of Viewplus Premier embosser with attached Ink Connect. It's easy to attach on the outside of the embosser, and immediately you will have the capability of creating black print text accompanying your Braille output, and black and white overprint to tactile graphics. But how does it work to convert a standard text document to Braille, and how to print and emboss? Viewplus developed software to ease the process and provide workflows based on mainstream processes. Tiger Software Suite, short TSS, is included to every embosser purchase without additional charge. This slide here shows the installer window of TSS. It includes several components that are being installed on your Windows and Microsoft Office environment. This is the add-in to Microsoft Office Word and Excel, the Viewplus Translator, QuickPore, and Tiger Designer. At first, I would like to show the add-in in Microsoft Office Word for text-to-Braille translation. I'm showing on screen now a simple Word document with some text. To translate this text to Braille, I go to Tiger ribbon and use the Translate Document command. The conversion of the document is done according to Tiger profile settings that previously need to be adjusted. All profile settings are found within this window, showing now. It opens from the first section within Tiger ribbon. The settings include, on Braille Settings tab, the choice of Braille languages code to be applied, which is selected from a list of over 50 Braille tables implemented at this point. We are constantly expanding this list depending on customer needs. Within Tiger Profile, you can also choose to have the original text displayed in black print text accompanying each line of Braille after translation. This is an option to switch on or off in Ink Settings tab. Additionally, you can choose the font type and size for interline print text as well. On Layout tab, you have options to define the paper format and margins for the layout of the Braille document. The document after translation is shown now. It has Braille text in 6-dot Braille font and interlined black print text in a smaller size. To print this, I can now go to File Print Command in Word and choose any Viewplus embosser I might have installed on my system. All Viewplus embossers are being installed through a Windows printer driver like any mainstream color printer and will be found in list of available printers from any Windows program. If choosing mBraille, for example, the result will look like this screen print preview shown now. The preview option can be selected within printer properties. It shows Braille text in dot patterns as it would be embossed on paper by mBraille. The print text does not show as mBraille is not capable of printing any color. If choosing Spotdot in Word for printing, for example, going to File, Print, and choosing Spotdot from the list of printers, the result will look like this preview on display now. This includes the black print text. The color page view and emboss page view are showing separated by default, but the view can be switched to a combined view to get the impression on how the output from Spotdot will look like with ink and Braille combined on one sheet of paper. The previewer has also a print function to send to the embosser for hard copy output. This was a brief introduction on text-to-Braille translation in Microsoft Office Word and how to print. A very similar Tiger add-in also exists in Microsoft Office Excel, as seen now on screen. It is used to translate text content in tables or text fields around charts and graphs, as shown here. For the purpose of translating text from other programs, Tiger Software Suite also includes the Viewplus Translator. Here's a picture of the application window on screen now. This translator can convert text content of clipboard corresponding to the Braille settings in the upper left part of the application window. Or it can translate whole text files at once and even all text files within one directory specified in the lower part of the application window on these different tabs here. Let me show you a little example just for the clipboard translation. Here you see one slide from earlier in our presentation containing a couple of bullet points about Viewplus organization today. Having the headquarter office in Corvallis, USA with Dan Gardner as CEO among 17 employees, and the European office in Westerkappel, Germany with 3 employees. The upper part already shows in Braille text. Now I would like to translate the lower part to Braille as well. Imagine I just added new text to a formerly translated document, which I now quickly also want to convert to Braille. Viewplus Translator is already started and showing partly behind the PowerPoint window at the right. Now I select the text to be translated, European office in Westerkappel, Germany, 3 employees, and copy to clipboard using Ctrl+C shortcut on my keyboard. At once, Viewplus Translator shows this text in display. Switching to the translator window, I make sure to have selected the desired Braille settings for the translation, and then use Translate Clipboard Text button below. Without any further action, I switch back to the PowerPoint window and use shortcut Ctrl+V to paste from clipboard. And in place of the still selected print text, now appears the corresponding Braille code. As you might notice, this Braille code just inserted is much smaller than the upper Braille part that was there from previous translation. Before I would emboss the slide using File Print option and selecting a Viewplus embosser, I need to make sure to increase the font size of this Braille text also. The font that was assigned by Viewplus Translator is called Braille 36, with number 36 in font name, and that means it needs to be set to size 36 for correct dot spacing on output. So now, additionally, just to mention, if I wanted to emboss this, I would also remove the background coloring to get clean Braille. The same way I use Viewplus Translator to translate text to Braille Braille code can also be back translated to text. Therefore, I will use this upper part of the text on this slide that was already translated before. My Braille reader complained. Apparently, this upper text part was translated using contracted Braille, whereas the lower part I just translated is in uncontracted Braille. Preferably, he would have all to be in uncontracted Braille. What I can do now is to copy the upper contracted Braille text to clipboard by selecting it and using Ctrl-C on my keyboard again. This text telling about Viewplus Corvallis office in the USA with 17 employees is displayed in Translator now, but in representation of the contracted Braille code. With Braille settings selected for contracted Braille, I now use the Back Translate Clipboard text button below. And in the display of Translator appears the original print text. Viewplus Technologies Today, headquarters in Corvallis, Oregon, USA, CEO Dan Gardner among 17 employees. I could now paste the print text back to the slide, but to reach my goal of pasting uncontracted Braille back, I change Braille settings once more back to uncontracted and use Translate Clipboard again. The display in Translator now shows the uncontracted Braille, as this is the current content of the clipboard now. Switching back to PowerPoint, I just have to use Ctrl-V again to paste this uncontracted Braille in place where the contracted Braille was before. And then I need to change the font size again to 36 to get the correct dot spacing when I want to output this Braille on Viewplus Embosser. This was a quick demonstration of using Viewplus Translator for text-to-Braille translation needs outside of Microsoft Office Word or Excel. This being said, I would also like to mention that our embossers are compatible to third-party text-to-Braille translation software as well, like RTFC here in Germany or Duxbury DBT, which is widely used internationally. As another part of TSS for Braille text edits, I would like to mention QuickPaw. If you're skilled in Braille and would like to type Braille dot patterns directly using your standard keyboard, you can do so using our QuickPaw standard keyboard emulator program. When running QuickPaw, this small program window opens, showing on display now, where you can choose desired emulation mode for your language from a list of 6-key and 8-key entry modes, and also set up your preferred hotkey for starting and stopping the emulation. Mine is Ctrl-Shift-F11, for example. QuickPaw can be hidden and runs in the background to be enabled or disabled on demand by your hotkey combination. For a brief demonstration now, I'm bringing up the slide with Braille text again, and next to it you see the QuickPaw application window. Within this slide showing the Braille text of the Viewplus headquarters in Corvallis employing 17 people, I need to make a small adjustment. It's not 17, but only 15 people now. So dot pattern 1, 2, 4, 5, representing number 7 here, needs to change to dot pattern 1, 5 to show number 5 in Braille. I first enable QuickPaw Braille entry, and then I'm deleting the Braille character for 7 and press F and K simultaneously to type the .15 Braille code to place number 5 here instead. The complete number reads 15 now instead of 17. So now we talked about Tiger add-in in Microsoft Office Word and Excel, about Viewplus Translator and QuickPaw, parts of Tiger software suite and all being tools to create and edit Braille text. But what about Tactile Graphics? Tactile graphics are being created upon printing any image from any program. like a graph from Excel. On the slide showing now, you see a fat sinus wave form embossed to stand out from finer grid lines, leading to X and Y axis of the graph. The printer driver will take care of converting the image into tactile graphics. The principle is what you see is what you get. All Viewplus embossers work with variable dot heights for color representation, from the small Viewplus Embrail to the heavy-duty machine Viewplus Elite. The darker the color, or the stronger the line, the higher the tactile dot on embosser output. Dots on tactile graphics are placed directly next to each other without any gap. For example, let me show how the race car image from Rebecka's story about the little boy in Norway converts to tactile graphics upon printing the image from Microsoft Office Word document. Here's the document already translated to show Braille text accompanied by black print text. The image did not change during the document translation process. The conversion of the image to tactile graphics happens when I now go to File, Print, choose a Viewplus embosser. In this case, I will select Viewplus Embrail and show a screen preview of the outcome from this embosser. I will repeat this action to also show a screen preview from the Viewplus Spotdot. Here's the screen preview of the Embrail embosser output. The Braille text looks like seen earlier, and the graphic is shown in dots of different shades of gray. The darker the coloring within the original image, the darker the shade of gray here, and the darker the shade of gray dot in this preview, the higher will be the tactile dot on paper output. The embossing will happen dot by dot as seen on screen here. Let me now repeat the printing choosing Viewplus Spotdot instead of Embrail. In the print preview, you have the ink output view and emboss output view separated at first, but it can be switched to combined view to see how it would be printed in one pass. Let me zoom in on the emboss output view. Those of you who can see the visual representation of the print preview on screen might notice that the grid of dots looks somewhat different in this Spotdot preview versus Embrail preview. The difference in resolution of tactile graphics is something to consider when choosing an embosser for individual needs. The printing of images to Viewplus embossers and conversion to tactile graphics upon printing can be done with any image from any window and any program. Often, though, images as they are designed for sighted people show too many details and not enough contrast for conversion to comprehensive tactile graphics. To deal with this issue, we have another component within Tiger software suite called Tiger Designer. In preparation to work in Tiger Designer, I need to save this print preview to a file. This file will have extension PRN. A PRN file can be opened in Tiger Designer. Alternatively, I can print to file from Word or other program. In Word, you have the option at the bottom of the list of printer selection. Check Print to File, and upon using the print command, a file browser will open to choose the file location and name. Now you see the Tiger Designer program window showing a PRN file I just created for the race car document. The focus is on the emboss page view. It looks like the print preview window, but Tiger Designer offers editing tools additionally. It is similar to a paint program, but tactile graphics are being edited in resolution dot by dot as they are embossed. The graphic of this race car is already pretty clear with high contrast. The only thing I would change here is to clean up around number 1 on the car, since the explanation on the page says that number 1 is written on the side of the car, and the tactile reader should be able to notice this. Therefore, I use the filled circle drawing tool in white color to create a clean background in that area. And then I draw the shape of number 1 using the line drawing tool in black color. But I would also like to demonstrate quickly a couple of more sophisticated features in Tiger Designer. Let me open another PRN file for that purpose. This is the structure of a plant cell as found from an image off of the internet. I just printed the image using Viewplus Rogue Embosser as is. The contrast is not very good, and there is a text label which is part of the image and shows like tactile graphic of print text. To quickly enhance this, let me use the selection tool and draw a frame around this image. After I made the selection, I now go to menu Transform and call command Color. I'm getting controls to change brightness, contrast, and edges of the selected area. I'm increasing contrast first, then darken the whole image, and at last enhance edges to the maximum. Now the tactile reader can feel outlines and might be able to identify solid fills of different height. I'm not satisfied though, as the vacuole does not really stand out from the filling of the rest of the cell. Solid fills of different dot heights are not the easiest to differentiate. Therefore, the use of tactile fill patterns will increase differentiation in tactile graphics. Tiger Designer offers predefined patterns to use for tactile fill. When I select the Pattern Fill tool here, a pop-up window will show a list of available patterns by name, with a small preview of the core pattern to the right. I choose Pattern Nature and click within the vacuole, which gets filled immediately with diagonal stripes. I don't like that specifically, so I try again. Select Pattern Fill tool again, and this time I choose Pattern Piece Light from this list. Click into the vacuole area again, and immediately the whole pattern fill changes to the new pattern selected. It's kind of like a dotted fill, but elongated dots, arranged regularly in diagonal direction. So this will do. This is good. Now I also want to fix the unreadable text label. I use the Braille label tool here in Tiger Designer. I get a text entry mask when attempting to create the label. I type plant cell and see which Braille font will be used and which orientation my label will have. Select OK and I get the label, which I can now move in place on my image. It will cover up and replace the unreadable text completely. There, much better. Now I would feel good in presenting the embosser output of this to a tactile reader. If I were to continue, I could add more Braille labels too, maybe with pointer lines, to give more information to blind persons about what they explore by touch. These are just a few features and workflows that I showed you today for creation of Braille and tactile graphics documents. Our mission at Viewplus is to empower people worldwide by making information accessible through innovative, inclusive technology solutions. We offer versatile tools, and there are many ways to use them. Today, we did only just scratch the surface of it. We are proud as tactile graphics become more and more accepted to support visually impaired in education and learning. One statement from our customer testimonials, which you can read on our website, that I really like is, Tiger will show not a new view of the world, but a new word to discover. I would say mission accomplished, getting such feedback, but new ideas are flowing in all the time. To add more of the excitement to the subject, the Viewplus IVEO system allows to add another dimension to tactile graphics and audio feedback while exploring by touch. Rebecka introduced about IVEO briefly during summary of product portfolio earlier. If you're interested to learn more about IVEO, we would be very happy to welcome you to our IVEO webinar taking place in about 2 weeks. Invitation will go out via social media channels shortly. So what is new in regard to Viewplus products in 2022? In regard to hardware, as you see on this slide, we are introducing a new embosser. Rogue replaces Macs and is compatible with print files that have been previously created and edited for Macs. At the same time, it's also compatible with Columbia and Delta PRN files. It combines all features for tactile graphics from all other Viewplus embossers, yet also creates high-quality Braille. Like Macs, the Rogue is a single-sided embosser, but it's even faster in printing Braille than Macs. We offer two versions of Rogue, which look like Columbia and Delta from the outside, but the embossing technology on the inside is different. The Rogue Track is equipped with a tractor feeder like Columbia, and Rogue Sheet is equipped with a stack sheet feeder like Delta. In regard to software, here's a summary of new features that we are releasing with TSS version 8 next month. The new features of TSS 8 include a button control to open Tiger profile settings from Tiger Ribbon in Word and Excel, which has just been a little corner icon before, and a command within Tiger Ribbon in Word to reformat BRF files. It changes Braille font size and page layout to conform with Tiger profile settings in one step after opening a BRF file that was created in Duxbury DBT, for example. Customizable Grade 2 Unified English Braille table for text-to-Braille translation in Word or Excel are also a new feature. Specific contractions can be enabled or disabled to create learning tables for different skill levels of Braille readers. And enhanced features in Tiger Designer are bringing in Braille text correctly when opening a PDF file that contains Braille because it was created for other technologies like PIAF or Swell paper. Libraries of such material exist, which can now be used to produce output on Viewplus embossers without necessity of editing prior to printing. The picture of the clock face to the right is a piece of such library. It's a tactile graphic of a clock face with printed numbers for each hour and the Braille numbers next to each print number. Tiger Designer of TSS 8 is able to print to any mainstream color printer on your system, not just to Viewplus embossers. The pattern fill tool is greatly enhanced. The user interface when using pattern fill is more intuitive, and there are more default patterns to choose from than in TSS 7. In my demonstration earlier, I did show TSS 8 pattern fill in Tiger Designer already. There is also the possibility to assign tactile patterns to certain colors. For example, green areas would be represented by diagonal stripes, and red areas would be represented by dotted patterns. And this assignment takes place in Pattern Fill Editor in Tiger Designer, which I didn't show yet. And then this assignment of patterns to colors can be saved to a data file. When printing to Columbia, Delta, or Rogue from any program, this data file can then be chosen within printer properties to automatically apply this color mapping to the tactile output of the image. Additionally, we are constantly improving and expanding language localization in Braille tables. Even though Tiger Software Suite is only available for Windows environment, we provide printer driver for Mac too, and our Wi-Fi interface called TigerBox allows to print from mobile devices with on-the-fly text-to-Braille translation. To improve interoperability across all platforms, we introduced new Braille fonts with TSS 8. Braille 36 replaces Braille 29 fonts for those of you who are already familiar with Viewplus Braille fonts. And this information will complete our presentation.
Thank you very much for attending our presentation this afternoon. We will now proceed with a question and answer section. And for anybody who wants to know more about our different tutorials, manuals, etc., you can go to viewplus.com, or you're also welcome to send an email to sales@viewplus.com. Thank you.
Okay, thank you and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.